So the previous video was meant to be a one-shot standalone tutorial, but a few questions were asked, good legitimate questions, and so I wanted to address them. Now, first thing we need to modify is that the individual notes have a script attached to them, okay? That would be note control. The note is destroyed when the note, okay, and the corresponding variable match. So if destroy A has been set to yes, okay, and this script is attached to note 1, then go ahead and destroy note 1. Problem with that is that if you have multiple note 1s on the screen, they'll both get destroyed. So I modified the order so you could see that. So there's the note. See how they both blew up? So what we need is we need to put an additional control for each one of these, and that's easy. You're just going to check for one more variable. And what you're going to do is you're going to see if transform, so we're looking at the location. Sorry, I need a parenthesis in there. So if transform dot position dot y is a certain location on the screen. So I believe it would be, I'm just going to drag a random object in here so I can take a look to see what the x and y is. So we really want it to be below that point. So that's looking like -3.5. So, and if y is less than -3.5, we'll do less than or equal to. So now you're checking three conditions. You're checking to see if destroy A has been set to yes, which it's done in the song control. You're checking to see if the script is attached to the corresponding note, which is S1, note 1. And now you want to check its vertical location. So that should work. Let's take a look. So when that note appears at the top, it shouldn't destroy now. Yeah, see? So that's all it took. So you just have to check for the location. So I should have done that originally, but it's here now. Also, this only takes care of the first 3 notes. Again, I was trying to just do the broad strokes, but you need to do this for each and every one. So that's destroy A, B, C. If destroy D, note is 4, and the rest is the same. And then you'll do it also for that's note A, B, C, D. You have to do it for E and F because there's 6 notes. So I just want to mention that those have to be filled in too. Now, the second question that was asked of me was, is there a simpler way of determining when a note appears? Because as it stood, what you're going to have to do is do an if statement for each and every interval that you wanted a note to appear, to instantiate, and you had to have a corresponding instantiate command. So if there's 200 notes in a song, then that means you're going to need 200 if statements with each with an instantiate, so that's 200 commands. So, as I said, I don't know of any automatic way to derive the notes. There might be some functionality that I'm not aware of, maybe a third-party plugin, but there is a simpler way. It's a little more data intensive, but it's less command intensive. So let's go over to song control, and I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to these are the 2 variables that you have to add to make this work. One is a list, and this is just the syntax. So list is the type of variable. Okay, it's a float list because just like other variables, they can be floats, they can be ints, they can be strings. Okay, so list, float, and this is the name of the list. It's going to be called note select equals new list float. So basically this and this are mirroring each other. So new list float, zoom in a little bit, open close parentheses, and then here you just start putting in the values. Now you could do, like I think the first note was meant to be 0.25. Since you're using a decimal, got to put that F in there. Maybe the next one was 2 even, so you don't need the F. Maybe the next one was 2.75 F. Okay, so you have a value separated by a comma, value separated by a comma, on and on and on. What you do is where a normal variable is set to a value, what you've done is you've already predefined the values for this variable, okay? And you can call a given one. So the first one, unfortunately, is not the first position, it's the 0 position. So the first one is the 0 position, then the 1 position, then the 2 position, then the 3 position, 4 position, okay? So so you're looking at two things. You're looking at the value of the position, but you're also looking at the ordinal value. You're looking at the order that they're in. So position 1 is 0.25. Excuse me, position 0. My apologies. Position 0 is 0.25. Position 1 is 2. Position 2 is 2.7. That kind of thing. So it's a little confusing because since we're tracking time, we're using sequential numbers, and it kind of conflates the two issues. What is the order and what is the actual value? So we've got to keep those separate. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of broke these up into decimals. Like this one would actually maybe be 3.5F. So again, you have the value of that position and you have the ordinal number of that position. Public int song marker, so we're adding that. This is going to be used to select which one you want. You're going to say, okay, I want note select position 0, that's 0.25F. Alright, I want note select position 1. We would change this to 1, and then it would draw that one. It would extract that number. Or maybe we want to set this to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this case, it's equal to 5. So you like I said, that's the key, is that you've got values for each position and you can actually track the position. So let's see how this would look. This is a little bit more of a summary than what I normally do. Normally I try to write it out one line at a time, but it's a bit much to look at. So here's what it is. In the fixed update, you'd get rid of everything that was there before except for song length plus equals time dot delta time, and you're going to replace it with this. So you're still checking for song length, but rather than having a constant, because before it was like 0.125 or 0.25 whatever, okay? So rather than having a constant that you're checking this value to, you're checking this value to a variable. Very specifically, you're checking it to a certain value within note select. So you're saying, give me the value of note select at the song marker position. So song marker starts off at 0. Alright, so if song length, that's this, is equal to what is in the 0 position of note select, the 0 position is 0.25. So like I said, sorry to repeat myself, but it's important to distinguish between the order and the value of that position. So if if song length is greater than equal to the value in this position, position 0, it's 0.25F. So if song length is greater than or equal to 0.25, and if you recall, the second side was a calculation. So it's exactly what it was before, less than or equal to. Again, it's note select, but this time we're bumping on 0.125. So just as we did a constant and the constant with an additional 0.125, we've replaced it with a variable, okay, and 0.125 added to that variable. And now what you do is you simply have within that if statement. So this is the only if statement you need for checking interval, because before, like I said, you had an if statement for each and every interval. What happens is, since we got rid of the constants and replaced them with variables, if you skip down here, we're going to increment. So song marker will become 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. So each one of these will eventually be selected. It'll start off at 0, then go to 1, then go to 2. So down here, first it'll check for 0.25. Then it'll check for 2 even, and then it'll check for 275, and so on and so forth. So you're just moving right up along the list. So one if statement only to determine when something happens. Instead of having an if statement for each and every interval, you only need one if statement for all the intervals, because you've replaced the constants with variables. Now that creates a problem though, because since you had a unique if statement for each and every variable, you could simply say instantiate note 1 or note 2 or note 5, note 6. Because you only have one if statement, you do have to add additional nested ifs, but only 6, one for each note. And again, you're going to look at song marker. You're going to say if song marker is equal to whatever, or it's equal to whatever else, or whatever else, or whatever else, then instantiate note 1. So this gets repeated 6 times for note 1, note 2, note 3. This should actually be note 4. I was copying and pasting, sorry about that. And then you'll do another one for note 5. And one for note 6. And I'll make this script available. Oops, note 6. And these numbers should never match from one to another, so you have to just keep whatever you determine, okay? You determine, okay, you want the first note to be note 1, or maybe you want the 13th note to be note 4. That's what you're doing here. Because as we said, song marker is tracking which position you're extracting. So it's just a matter of determining where you want each note. So again, the value is determining when the note is going to occur. The song marker you can then use to determine which note will occur. So this is being used for when. This is being used for which. My apologies if I haven't been as clear with this as I tend to be. This is a little bit more rushed than what I normally do. But, so to answer that question, is it doable without a gazillion if statements? Yes. Because even if you were to expand this out to, right now we've got there's 4 for each if statement. So since there's 6 notes, this is 24. Okay. If you add more notes, it's just a matter of grabbing the OR and expanding it out, just like that. And maybe this will be note 25 or 35. And maybe you want this to be note 76. So that's about it. So yes, this can be done without using an if statement for each and every individual note. You don't have to do instantiate for each and any note. As you can see, that's been reduced to just 6 instantiates, 1 for each note type. The only thing that's really been added is this additional if, but even that is much simpler. So that's about it. This also gives you more control. Like if you want note 1 to do something special, you can embed it right in here. And that's about it. So if you any questions, let me know. This was more of a summary rather than an itemization. So if you have any additional questions, just let me know. But that should clear up the remaining problems.